It is my distinct honor to introduce Professor Elaine Pinderhughes, a longtime faculty member at Boston College and a legendary social work educator. She transformed the way social workers think about and talk about race, ethnicity, and power, first as a practitioner and then as a faculty scholar. After graduating from Howard University with her MSW, she worked as a psychiatric social worker for over 30 years in the Boston area. While remaining in practice, she joined the faculty at Boston University and subsequently at Boston College. And that was in 1975, and she remained there until 1998. Her countless books, journal articles, book chapters, and summary reports attest to her status as a lifelong intellectual. But for many of us, her 1989 transformational book, Understanding Race, Ethnicity, and Power, The Key to Efficiency in Clinical Practice, substantially changed the language of multiculturalism and human behavior in the curriculum and in the practice arena. Her work brought to the forefront the reality that cultural sensitivity, then the common rubric, fomented power differentials and was paternalistic. We all now use the term culturally competent practice without recognizing the enormous debt that we owe to Professor Pinderhughes. Her longevity in the field is exceeded only by her impact as a scholar, role model, and mentor to countless faculty and practitioners, myself included, way back in 1975 when I was teaching as an adjunct at Boston College. Therefore, it is indeed my pleasure, my distinct pleasure, to present to you and to present the Lifetime Achievement Award in Social Work Education Award to Professor Elaine Pinderhughes. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Elaine Pinderhughes. Thank you. It's very heavy. So, thank you so much. Thank you. And you can set it down here.
To be honored by the accrediting body of the training institutions of one's profession is an unbelievable honor and an even greater surprise. From what I've heard today about the efforts of social work to change training in terms of diversity, of bringing numbers of students of diverse backgrounds into the field, has been extremely impressive. And their work in Congress and the numbers of social workers who are in the congressional delegation leads me to believe that congressional profession is a new pathway for social work. I'm serious. I entered social work training at Columbia University in 1943. I graduated in 1948. I had prepared at Howard University. I did not major in the social sciences. I was in languages, and at the last minute, I decided I'd like to try social work. It was during the war. I was already secretly married to my husband. But at age 21, I entered Columbia University, and I was fascinated with the learning. I worked very hard to catch up with my lack of preparation in the social sciences, and I was determined to master this content. I was so excited about it that when it came to write my thesis, I decided that I would write it on the meaning of being Negro, we were Negroes in those days, as seen through parental handling of minority group status. Well, I worked on it. I interviewed 30 people and used the research methods in those days. This was 1945, okay? But there was no one who could help me, and I learned that most students did not attempt theses on that topic because faculty people could not assist them in completion of this work, and the theory was not there. So my husband helped me to finish my degree as my oldest child was crawling around. He's sitting over there. So I did finish Columbia, but for 15 years, I did not work. The reason why is sitting over here, and I'll introduce them later. But when I went back, I took a job in child guidance because that had been my training. I had a wonderful placement at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in child psychiatry. I thought that this was a great field. I got my training there, and it prepared me for this wonderful part-time job I had, helping poor depressed mothers figure out why they were so unhappy. And that was a wonderful thing for me. I loved that job. Then I took a job in the inner city, working in a child psychiatry clinic that had trained 75% of the preschool child psychiatrists in the world. It was called Putnam Children's Center. It was staffed by psychoanalytically trained social workers and psychoanalysts, sitting in the middle of the inner city, and decided that it was going to change to serve the population surrounding it. And I was the first social worker, the first person of color to join the staff. And that was my baptism by fire in diversity. And there I learned all that I have learned about diversity, culture, power, privilege, and subordination. It was my good luck to have had that excellent training in excellent work settings where people struggled, not always successfully, to look honestly at the ways we were serving and not serving people in their attempts to get their needs met and achieve their life goals. In our engagement with one another, we learned about the emotionality involved in the effort to understand another's culture, to put ourselves in the shoes of another with different beliefs, life goals, etc. And the challenge of staying at the table when having a dialogue about difference. Our search for clarity crystallized the difficulties involved in self-reflection, in the challenge for those whose knowledge happens to be the most privileged when they must listen to the dissenting, resisting voices of those who have long been silenced. Most of all, it crystallized for me the primacy of one's cultural, social identity and connectedness, the emotionality of culture and social functioning, and the discovery that experiences of subjugation, victimization, and of power privilege are key related dynamics. As we struggled over defining healthy behavior for poor people, for Negro people, for others who were disenfranchised. The journey was marked by pain, discouragement, stress, and even for me, some physical symptoms, which only disappeared when my husband suggested that I keep a journal. And I found myself, I learned that self-empowerment, learned the issue of self-empowerment by putting it down and looking at it and analyzing it, thinking about it. We have come a long way from the time when psychiatric social workers were seen as the handmaidens to psychiatry, and we made pathologizing assessments of clients. Poor people, one-parent families, children in families whose last names were different, were seen as disorganized and pathologized. Mothers who were seen as rejecting when they could not plan ahead for their children's departure from residential treatment centers, instead of understanding that the parents were overwhelmed with their realities and confused about what to do and didn't have time. Autistic parents were blamed for their child's autism. And yes, I participated in all of that, and I learned it well. In living through the shift to the current focus on a multi-level understanding of human functioning and the systemic processes of power and difference in cultural dynamics, I salute social work for its contribution to this thrust. The evidence is here tonight, and I need say no more. Its focus on the environment from the beginning gave it a head start among the helping professions. Its contributions to social justice and cultural competence have now been seminal. And as I have said, we have seen a large number of social workers now in Congress, and I heard tonight even working in other capacities in the Congress. So social workers are gaining power. And isn't it fortunate that social work is right in tune with the people in the rest of the country, as attested by the outcome of this election that proved the salience of social, cultural, and social diversity in who we are and what we can become as a nation. I want to thank those whose support of me over the years and acceptance of my work have contributed to my recognition here tonight. My appreciation to my two deans, Dean June Gary Hobbs, who has been told over and over of how much I appreciate her support and her demand for excellence from her faculty, and how hard she worked to establish Boston College as a truly important school in this field. And to Alberto Godenzi, who had a vision now realized of our school's commitment to research and diversity and support of my ideas, while not always agreeable, he nonetheless heard. And to Ruth McRoy, who also joined our faculty and was so supportive of my work. To Monica McGoldrick, and from earlier days, Ann Hartman, Connie Lemon, Carol Germain, Carol Meyer, and Golda Edinburgh, all of whom I feel were very supportive to me in my career. And most important, my late husband, Charles, who was a psychiatrist and a psychoanalyst, and would you believe it, a community activist too. We were a team, and we helped each other. We cross-fertilized each other in more than one way. And to our children, 4 of whom are here today, I express my appreciation for it. It was more than a notion to be a child of a social worker and a psychiatrist. And I want to introduce them to you now. There's my my daughter Ellen, please stand, my son Charles, my son Robert, and my son Richard. Where is he? Oh, over there. And my granddaughter Olivia. Stand. Again, to the Council of Social Work Education for its contributions to the increasing salience of social work and the struggle for justice, for honoring me tonight. I thank you so very much.